Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be making a video on the hot water system that I put together for the truck. This is a system that has a water tank, a water filter, a water pump, and the hot water, instant hot water system that's connected to a propane tank. You could use it when camping, overlanding, 4x4ing, or anytime you are in the outdoors. The hot water heater I'll be using is from GasLand. It has 3 dials on it. One is the amount of water pressure, one is summer or winter setting, and that is the temperature of the water that you'll be using to heat up, or the source temperature, and then obviously the temperature of the water on this charge when you're taking a shower. And this gives you a temperature reading. It seems like it's in Fahrenheit. The hot water heater came with 3 vertical tubings, one for propane, one for the water outlet, and one for the water inlet. Since I was going to be using this water heater on a temporary basis, not full-time, so I needed to store it someplace. In order to store it, I had to put elbows on each one of those fittings. Since this was a standard pipe fitting for both the hot and the cold, I used just an elbow, both brass, both female threads, both 1/2 inch, and I used a good enough amount of Teflon, white Teflon, to make this work. The last one is the propane. This is the propane inlet. Remove this piece from that was already connected, which was vertical, and I put a 1/2 inch female to a 1/2 inch male, and I used yellow Teflon tape that is specifically made for gas. Make sure you use that and do not use white for the gas, and that gave me this elbow. These will have connections going to my 1/2 inch hose, quick disconnects, but this one for the time being I'll just connect and reconnect my propane as I go along when I'm taking a shower. This has 2 double D batteries in order to ignite the water as it senses flow. I did some research as to where I was going to store my hot water heater with all its accessories and the hoses. I looked at Pelican cases, but I didn't want to store it outside, so it was going to be inside when I'm traveling. I found this Plano Sportsman trunk that was the perfect size in terms of dimensions, and it was only about $15 from Home Depot. And I decided to put the water heater on the cover so that when I store it, it will fit right in. You can see the water heater fits perfectly on the cover of the box. I raised it a bit with a piece of plywood that I had, and this will protect the heat from the plastic in case it decides to melt or whatever. But I just wanted to be a bit more careful. I added that on there. I drilled 4 holes and I connected those holes through the top, and then I'm going to use a Dremel to cut these off so it'll be nice and flat on the plastic. I'll be using these 2 brass fittings, 1/2 inch male to connect to a 1/2 inch barb. This is for the water inlet and outlet. A 1/2 inch female to a 1/2 inch barb. This will go on the shower head. I did not want to use the hose that came with the shower head because I want to put a quick disconnect at the end of the shower hose, so I'll be able to connect and reconnect, so I could put this in a box when I'm not using it. For the water container, I'll be using the 50 liter or about 13 some gallons water container that already comes with a 1/2 inch fitting that goes in here that has a 1/2 inch barb. And the good thing about this one is you can always control the amount of control the water flow. You could turn it off and on as you're choosing. Water pump is a flow jet, 12 volt, only uses 7.5 amps. but the fuse is a 10 amp fuse, which is perfect for my setup. I'm also going to be adding a water filter. This one's made by Seagull. It's called the Seagull 4. It's pretty compact. Should be enough for the back of the truck. The way it's going to work is I have water coming in from the water pump, and then water coming out into a T-junction, and from the T-junction I'm going to go through the fountain or the faucet, and then one going to the shower. The faucet will be a compression 3/8. These are all compression that you could buy from the hardware store. And the only problem that I had was I had to find a compression to a barb that I couldn't find. So luckily I found this one, 3/8 compression to a 1/2 inch regular pipe fitting, so I could put a male 1/2 inch in here that has a 1/2 inch barb that I could go to the quick disconnect for the shower. For the quick disconnects, I'll be using the CPC. The nice thing about this one is it's valved, so when you lock it, it's open, and then if you unlock it, it's locked from the inside. The valve is closed, so the water filter, the water pump diaphragm doesn't detect low pressure, and it starts sending water off. This way you'll be safe when you're doing the disconnect and you leave your water pump on. For the clamping tool, I usually use the Pex Clamp Fastening tool. It's great for 3/8 to 1 inch, so it's a perfect size to put these clamps on and then clamp it down to my hose. I'll be putting Teflon on the male ends of the water filter. Even though it's a compression hose fitting, I still like to put Teflon regardless. It's kind of an old habit. I just don't want to have any leaks when all your project is nicely done and it starts leaking. I'll be using these quick ties down to hold the filter in place, and then I screwed in the pump. I built this box around everything that I wanted to do. I already hooked up the I already put the water pump, the water filter, and this faucet. And now I'm going to put this fuse box over on this side, which I will have it connected over to the water pump and then other accessories that I want to put above this main box. Normally I like to have a guide drilled into the hole to make it easier for the screw. I like to change the clutch settings to a minimum just to be safe. I'll make a pilot for the hole.
Too many mosquitoes. Yes.
put in the for the fresh water hose coming in from the water pump. I will connect this one over to the water pump, and it's pretty straightforward. You plug it in and you lock it in place. I like to put an on-off switch that I got for the water pump, so I could disable it. However, the depth of the switch isn't tall enough for my wood, so I gotta shorten this a bit, and then this will get about halfway, and then I'll make it wide enough for this guy to walk in. I'll be adding a 12-volt power lit. This is a power lit product that I'll be connecting my fridge male into it. It snaps in and it will not come off if there's any vibration, if you're off-roading or anything, so it'll be securely connected. This is really made for motorcycles, but I had one in my garage and I'm gonna put that onto the box. I'll be using a 12-volt DC socket, and I'm also going to connect that to the fuse box. If I need to add any accessories later on, it'll be connected to that. I got a piece of carpet that acts like Velcro, and I want to cover the box with it. I like to spray glue, just enough for it not to bulge. I put my 12-volt connectors through. Once I connected all the plugs in, I put the carpet over, and then I'm going to have the rest of it have the carpet as well. This is my 12-volt, this is my power lit, and then all the connections should go from here over to the fuse box. Now for the other side of the box, I cut a piece of the carpet. This is the front, so I'll spray some glue so I could stick the carpet on top. Now that we got all the 3 screws in on each side with the carpet on it, it's coming along. I'll be doing the wiring next for the water pump. I'll be connecting it to the fuse box. And the instructions are pretty straightforward. The top one is the earth, the middle one is the load, and the bottom one is the supply. This fuse box has the ground at the bottom and the positive on the top. So on the right hand side I'll be having all the ground, and on the left hand side I'll be having all the positive. Now that we got the positive side of the 12-volt power lit that's going to go to the refrigerator, I'm going to go ahead and do one for the ground, and then same one for the 12-volt plug that's up, accessory plug that's up here. Probably going to be using the third one. I use one of these wire clamps to organize the wires. We'll go ahead and put the water filter. This is the end result of how it's going to be set up in my car. The water tank is easily placed behind the driver and the passenger seat, connected using these tie downs with a hook on the plywood. The setup that I have, including the 12-volt and the power outlet for my refrigerator, is set up here. The fuse box inside, these 4 screws makes the cover come off, and then I have access to the fuse box. This is secured using these L brackets on all four corners. And this is my fridge. It's an old Waco fridge or Dometic. You can connect the refrigerator using the 12 volt power LED plug that I did, and you could hear it snap. This doesn't come off until you apply a bit of force, and it comes off, and now the fridge is no longer on. I always have to uncap the water inlet cover of the water tank so we have pressure even within the box and the outside the box. The water tank is connected using this quick disconnect. It goes into my water pump. There's a T-junction in the back of it that has the water dispenser or the shower with a quick disconnect. I turn on the water pump. You could hear the water pump kick in, and then it stops, and then you got fresh water, filtered fresh water. I turn off the water pump so I exhaust any pressure, and then I close the lid on my water container. This is the box. I put on these Home Depot Velcros to hold it together. So as I open the box, you can see the hose is all connected. I hang the water heater using these Husky Velcros that I got from Home Depot. I have a small propane tank that I use for camping and cooking. The gas so far is the only one that I screw in and screw out. It does not have a quick disconnect. The shower out has a quick disconnect. The water coming out of my tank or the filter going into my water heater has also a quick disconnect. I turn on the pump. You could hear it filling up. You could hear it kick in. Water off, pump turns off, water heater off, water on, pump turns on, water heater on, and it goes back to that temperature that you already set up initially. This is the setup. Propane tank, water heater, water tank, water pump and filter. Oh, nice. Look at that. I should have washed my car a long time ago. Well, I think to give the Land Cruiser a bath is probably a better idea. Just need some shampoo. This piece of plywood that I put in the back of the water heater creates a little barrier between the plastic and the heat shield. And I noticed that the heat shield is quite distant from the core. Therefore, I don't see any problems having this plywood right behind it, which protects this plastic. And I found these handy from Home Depot, so you could hang them anywhere. Maybe in the future I'll come up with a permanent setup, but I like them, and then they do a fairly good job. Now I'm going to pack this back into the box. Once everything cools down, I'll put it back in the box, remove all the quick disconnects, pack it, and then ready for my next trip. And this is how it looks from far. Another advantageous thing that I have about the connection here is I can always quick disconnect this part, connect this hose into a longer hose that I can use to collect water from a river or a lake, which means the source of water can shift from the water tank that I have into a river or a lake using another hose and the same quick disconnect that I have. At the end of the water hose, I'll probably have a filter, and then that water will go through my main filter on top of that, and then goes back to drinking or using the hot water system. So I made it in a way where I could use it from the water here or a water from a lake or a river using a longer hose. If you enjoyed watching this video and learned something from it on how to put together a hot water system for camping or overlanding or anytime you want to spend some time outdoors, feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. The link is below in the description. Thanks again, and don't forget to subscribe. Most likely this will come about here at the T-junction, and then it will connect over. This will come about here, right like that, and then I'll have the other T-junction going out. Next I'll be drilling a hole in one of the. I'll be drilling a hole in one of these. I bought this the dash protector. I bought this sun. It's using يلا وافي هون هيك.
بأمرك.
اوكي دوم.
شو الفكرة منه؟
بدي اعلق هاي هون. And then here's the flow. لا. There it is. Oops. Time for a break. Armenian coffee, or Lebanese for that matter.
It's Lebanese coffee. Armenian coffee.
Time for a break with Armenian coffee.
Time for a break with original Lebanese coffee.
Yeah, whatever.
Cheers.
Venetians invented coffee.
Venetians, yeah. This is Lebanese, pure.
All right. Why don't you go and So anyway, thank you for the coffee. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to subscribe Thanks again, and don't forget to subscribe.